Welcome to lesson 7.11. Today we're going to switch gears a little bit. We've been working really hard on division and division problem solving. We're going to switch it a little bit and look at order of operations. And some of you may have heard of this before, and some of you it may be a new concept for. So we're going to look at it and see what is order of operations and why is it in our math. Okay? We're continuing to work on our Common Core standards of solving problems involving the 4 operations. So remember that operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division for us. So if you look at that and what the title of this one is, with order of operations, that kind of gives us a little clue of how we're going to work on things. And identify and explain a pattern in arithmetic. So our lesson objective today is to perform operations in order when there are no parentheses. So before, I think we have probably worked with problems that have had parentheses in them, but now we're going to solve some problems that in specific order that do not have parentheses in them. And your essential question that you're going to keep in mind for journaling later is, why are there rules such as order of operations? So first of all, we need to figure out what the order of operations is. Order of operations is order solve a problem. The order you use the operations in to solve a problem. That might be something that you want to write on the top of your journal page because it will help you. Okay? So you're looking at what order are you going to perform those operations of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing in order to solve a problem. That is basically what the order of operations is. If you want to look in your e-glossary on the Think Central page or in the back of your book to find that definition, it is in there for you to look, and we'll give you an example of those things. Warming up our brain, even though we just did a little vocab, there are 40 students competing in a team race. Each team of runners will have 10 students. So we have that magic word, each again, which could be used to find the number of teams that all 40 students would make. Okay, so how many total students did we have? We had 40 students. And we want to know, find the number of teams that we can divide those students into. So we had 40 students to begin with. We're putting them in groups of 10 in order to find out the number of teams. Okay, so there's T, which means teams. Okay, so go ahead and figure that one out. 40 divided by 10. 40 divided by 10 is 4. So we have 4 teams. Okay, we're going to do some investigating and some experimenting today in order to better understand what the order of operations is and how it helps us in math. So we're going to use what you already know about acting out a 2-step problem to write one equation to describe and solve a 2-step problem. Okay, so you need to be on page 295. First one said, if you solved a 2-step problem in a different order, what do you think might happen? So think about, you have a set of numbers and you're going to try to solve it. So this one says 4 plus 16 divided by 2. You can see yours a little bit better. Mine's a little bit blurry so that I could fit it all on one slide. What's going to happen if you do 4 plus 6 and then divide that by 2? Or if you divide 16 by 2 and then add 4? Okay, so what do you think is going to happen is you might get different answers. And I believe we have done this in another program that we had previously, and we kind of practiced these. But I'm not sure if you did that in 2nd grade this year or not. Okay, so you're going to use different orders to find 4 plus 16 divided by 2. It says, make a list of all the possible orders you can use to find the answer 4 plus 16 divided by 2. So if we look at this, we could add these two together and then divide by the 2. Or we could divide first and then add. Okay, so you could do 4 plus 16 and then divide that by 2, 16 by 2, and then add the 4. So each of those may give you a different answer. So use each order in your list to find the answer. Okay, so let's do the first one if we add and divide. So if we have 4 plus 16, 4 plus 16 equals 20, and then 20 divided by 2, we have a little bit of white space here. We have 20 divided by 2. You can draw that out if you need to. Or you can look at 2 goes into 2 once, and then you have that 0 in the ones place. So your answer would be 10. So let's divide and do it the second way. We have 16 divided by 2. So what times 2 equals 16 is 8. And then plus 4 for our adding part. 8 plus 4 is 12. So we have the same problem, but we have 2 different answers. So let's draw some conclusions. Did following different orders change your answer? Yes. We've got 2 completely different answers. One time we got 10, this time we got 12. So if a problem has more than one type of operation, how does the order in which you perform the operations affect the answers? Okay? So we did it differently and it changed our answers. Okay? One time we added first, one time we divided first, and it totally changed our answers. So explain the need for setting an order of operations that everyone follows. Why would it be important that we have an order of operations that everybody follows and not just one person's going to do it this way and the other person's going to do it the other way? Well, the obvious thing is that we need something that tells us what to do first so that everyone will follow the same procedures in order to get the same answer. Okay? So we need a set of directions of what to do in what order. Because while we did the math correctly up above, we did come up with 2 totally different answers. And so if everyone in the world did it in a different way, we would never come up with the same answer and be able to solve our equations correctly. So that's very important. Go ahead and finish filling in your own words, number 2 and 3, if you didn't do that while I was writing. Okay, turning to page 296. Make connections. When solving problems with more than one type of operation, you need to know which operation to do first. A special set of rules called the order of operations gives the order in which calculations are done in a problem. Okay. So we have, you're going to multiply and divide from left to right. Okay, so you're going to either do your multiplication or division first. Then, so step 2 is to add and subtract from left to right. Remembering that you go left to right just like you do reading is how you're going to solve those. So whichever way they're written in the problem. Okay? So this is very important and you need to memorize it. Okay? First you're always going to multiply and divide, then you can add and subtract. Okay, so let's try one. Megan buys 2 books for $4 each. She pays with a $10 bill. How much money does she have left? So you can write the problem $10 minus 2 times 4, where C is equal to describe and solve the problem. Use the order of operations to solve the 10 minus 2 times 4. Okay, so first you're going to multiply left to right. So you're going to do this part of the problem first, 2 times 4, which equals 8. Now you have 10 minus 8. Okay, That is what you have here. So you have 10 minus 8, where you can do 10, and it gives you $2. So Megan has $2 left. Does your answer make sense is where you need to think about this. It makes sense because she has only $2 left. She started with $10, and she bought 2 books of $4 each. Okay, so that's the 2 times 4. You need to figure out how much she spent total first, and then you can subtract from the 10. Okay, so explain if your answer makes sense. You would say yes, because if I subtracted first, my answer would be 32. So if you did this of 10 minus 2 is 8, and then 8 times 4 equals 32, does that make any sense of how she would have the money left over? Okay? You actually start with more money than you end with more money than you started with, so it makes absolutely no sense. So we had to multiply and divide first, and then we had to subtract. Okay? So does your answer make sense? Explain. Go ahead and fill that in your own words. How do you know that that $2 makes sense? I'm going to look at the little blue box next to where you're writing right now. It says, what operation should you do to find 12 minus 6 divided by 2 and 12 divided by 6 minus 2? What operation should you do first? We know that you're going to divide first, because the order of operation, the first thing says multiply and divide. We don't have anything to multiply, so we know we need to divide. So you have the first one, 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So you have 12 minus 3, which equals 9. And then the second one, you have 12 divided by 6, which is 2, minus 2 equals 0. So both problems you have to be able to divide first, following the orders of operations. Okay? You're going to want to use the top of your page for this next section where it says first and then. That's the thing that I start up there. It wants you to know that you have to always follow those. First you're going to multiply, divide. Then you can add and subtract. So it wants to know if the order that they have written down is correct. Okay? If it's not correct, you're going to write the correct order of the operations. So let's look at number 1. It says 4 plus 5 times 2. It wants you to multiply first and then add. Is that correct according to the orders of operations? Are we going to multiply first and then add? Yes. So all you have to do is write correct on the line. Okay, number 2. Remember that part where we talked about going from left to right? That is going to be important here. So we have 8 divided by 4 times 2. It wants us to multiply first. Our multiply is clear back here. So is that correct, going from left to right? It is not. First, what would we have to do? We would want to do our first sign, which is divide, and then multiply. Okay? Trying to trick us. So you have to remember all the steps of it. It says from left to right on both of them. So whichever comes first in the problem is what you're going to do. Number 3, 12 plus 16 divided by 4. Orders of operations says first you must multiply and divide. So this one cannot be right because we have to divide first. Then you can add. Number 4, 9 plus 2 times 3. Orders of operation. First, multiply and divide. So we have to multiply first, and then you can add. Number 5, 4 plus 6 divided by 3. They're saying you need to divide first and then add. First step is multiply and divide from left to right, then add and subtract left to right. So they're saying divide first and then add, so they are correct. and the last one on that page, 36 minus 7 times 3. They're saying multiply, then subtract. First step, multiply and divide from left to right, then add and subtract from left to right. So again, they are correct on this one. Talk yourself through those just the same way that I did, knowing that first you have to multiply and divide from left to right. You should be saying that over and over again, then add and subtract from left to right. Okay, now it is your turn. Follow the order of operations to find the unknown number. Okay? So we've turned the page. So I'm going to, on the top of my page here, I'm going to do multiply, divide, left to right. Add, subtract, left to right, so that I can remember that. Okay? So 63 divided by 9 minus 2. You are probably going to want to get a piece of scratch paper for this, because you're going to show you. I'm not sure if we can fit it all in on these little spaces. We can try. 63 divided by 9. 63 divided by 9, I can use my unknown factor. Something times 9 equals. So 63 divided by 9 is 7. Minus 2 equals f. 7 minus 2 is... And actually, I want you to get in the habit of writing these out. So get a piece of scratch paper. And I'm going to use just this space over here to show you what I want you to write. You have 63 divided by 9 minus 2. You should write that first on your page. Let me get a new page. So on your page, I want you to do a number 7 and do the 63 divided by 9 minus 2. Okay? I want you to do this part first. So 63 divided by 7. 7 minus 2 equals the 5. Okay? Number 8 is 7 minus 5 plus 8. We have addition and subtraction in the same problem. So what was it that it said we had to do? We have to work from from left to right. So we're going to do 7 minus 5 equals 2. And then you have 2 plus 8, which equals 10. When you get into the habit of writing these out, I know you guys don't like to show your work. You have to, because that's the only way we're going to be able to figure out where you missed what you missed if you have a mistake. And as you get into more complicated problems in the upper grades, they're going to want you to show your work. And believe it or not, it's faster to show your work and write it out than it is to try to do it in your head. And when I talk to middle school teachers, they say the biggest struggle for kids are the kids that won't write their stuff out and won't show their work. So we're going to get into that habit right now. Let's look at number 9. We're going to write 3 times 6 minus 2 equals h. Okay? First, multiply and divide from left to right. So here's my multiply. So I have 9 minus 2. Oh, that's not 9. I added. Holy. 3 times 6 is 18 minus 2. 18 minus 2 is 16. There's my answer. I'm going to do one more of these with you just so you can get in the habit of writing them out. Number 10 is 80 minus 64 divided by 8 equals n. Okay? Order of operations, multiply, divide from left to right, then add and subtract left to right. So I need to multiply and divide first. So I have this part. 8 goes into 64 how many times? What times 8 equals 64? And then you can subtract that from the 80. Okay? So 64 divided by 8 is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So I have 80 minus 8, which is 72. Okay? I want want you to skip down real fast to the hot problems. Use the numbers listed to make the equation true. So again, you probably don't want to use scratch paper because you might have to do these a couple of times. Using the order of operations, multiply and divide left to right, subtract left to right, you're going to use these three numbers to get to this answer. Okay? So if we just substitute these numbers in order. Multiply and divide first. 6 times 5 is 30. Go back and add 2 plus 30. Does that equal 16? Nope. So let's try switching these. And this is just going to be trial and error. Okay? You have multiply and divide first. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 6 equals 16. So we're done. Okay? You're just going to have to substitute them in and then try them multiple ways. So again, using that extra scratch paper will be a huge help to you. Okay? You're going to go ahead and finish this page. You're going to write a word problem, and then you're going to explain a word problem. Go ahead and work through this page. This one might take you a while because you're going to have to do multiple steps, so you're actually doing more numbers than those on the page. And you're going to try to prove them to yourself, which will make you also a better math student. So take your time and finish this page. Then your next page is just a connection to social studies about a picture book art, and you have a chart back. So see if you can solve the problems on that page using that information. And your journal for essential question is, why are rules such as the order of operations? So why do we have those? We talked about that on the very first page. And then for your math journal, give a description of the rules for the order of operations in your own words. So looking at what do you do first, in which direction, what do you do second, in which direction, and put those in order. Please don't forget to put the lesson number on top because that makes it easier when I go back to look at your journals later on in the week. And also to write the prompt. So you have your essential question and your math journal to complete. This is kind of tricky, guys. You're going to have to really be willing to write stuff out and show your work on a lot of things in order to be successful and get the right answer. If you don't understand something and you want to go back and rewatch this lesson, this is probably the lesson in the chapter that would need that the most. Your chapter review is tomorrow, and then your test. You will have order of operations on your assessment. You might want to make sure that you really understand it. So if you need to rewatch this 20-minute video, go for it. That shows that you are in charge of your own learning, and we have taught you how to think. If you have questions and you just really don't understand it, come see me. Math is so much